Good morning, everyone. My name is Natalia Zukerman. Welcome to Wake Up with the Consciousness Café, part of SoulCall Global. I am so thrilled this morning to invite in one of my favorite people on this planet and a true mentor and teacher of mine. Please welcome Kris Kollasch.
Hello,
Good
everyone.
morning.
Hi, good
Thank you
morning.
so much for being here with us.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure,
Yeah.
my honor.
Well, so Kris, one of the things I love the most about my musical life is that I've gotten to meet the most amazing people. So it was 2005 or 2006, we can't quite remember,
Yeah,
but I was playing a show in Phoenix, Arizona, where Kris lives, and we met at the merch table. I didn't
that's right.
quite remember that, but then you said it took about 2 years for you to send me an email.
Yeah.
But you did.
Yeah, I was listening to your CDs every day, and then I thought, I bet there's more music out there. So I finally looked on the computer and found more about you and reached out. So
Yeah, and I read the email, which was shiny, and then at the bottom there was a little signature with a website link, and I don't even generally do that, but I was intrigued, so I pushed it, and wow, my doors just blew off. She is the most incredible muralist. She creates environments and worlds in every setting that you could possibly think of. If you ever, when the next time you're in Phoenix, Arizona,
look
take a
me up.
tour. Yeah, look her up for sure. But if you take a tour of Phoenix, much of the public art is Kris Kollasch originals, and I think then I know it was
I wouldn't say
2000.
much, but I have
A
some.
lot. We spent a whole day looking at
Yeah, you
one.
got to know where to look, but yes. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's pretty amazing, and
Thank you.
everything you do is just imbued with this joy and sense of play, and within that, the mastery of so many different types of materials is ever present. Um, in 2009, I got to actually apprentice Kris
Yeah,
and
that was
work
fun.
on several projects. One of which was the irrigation pipes in Tempe,
Yeah. So
Arizona. Tell us about that.
yeah. So in Phoenix, Arizona, before Phoenix became a metropolis, it was a farming community. And so what happened is a lot of the older neighborhoods, at least, kind of overlaid on top of farmland. And so when they built these communities, they kept the irrigation system kind of intact so that our yards get flooded with flood irrigation, like you might imagine a farm field. And so in these neighborhoods, there are these huge, usually cylindrical or square boxes that are about 4 feet tall and 4 feet, 3 or 4 feet wide, that kind of house some of the mechanisms that open up and these canal systems that are underground in these big pipes. So a lot of the neighborhoods around town have gotten neighborhood grants from the city where they're at to enhance their community by hiring artists to decorate these. They're called stand pipes because they're these big, huge pipes that stand in the middle of the community that otherwise they're pretty much eyesores and often are a place where they get a lot of graffiti or people markering on them or whatever. And so, yeah, I've been very fortunate in the city of Tempe, Arizona, which is kind of a suburb of Phoenix, home of ASU. I've gotten to do three or four different of these standpipes in the neighborhoods through grants and working with the community to create tile murals. And so I often will work with the community right there where the standpipe lives to think about what themes do they want these art pieces to be, and then actually get the community members engaged in creating tiles. So yeah, so when you were here, we were probably, I'm guessing, maybe doing a lot of glazing, because then we
Well, I
glaze them
learned
all
very
and
important
put them
things.
in.
One, that it's pronounced Tempe. Don't
Yes,
don't don't mess that one up. And then I learned all about the irrigation because we were doing kind of every stage of the
right.
transportation one, and we had laid them out. We had the
That's right.
design, and
Yes.
we were laying out the tiles, and lo and behold, what do I know? But her yard starts filling with water, and I didn't know about this phenomenon. Even
Yeah,
working on this
it's pretty
standpipes, I
fun.
didn't know what was going to happen. And so I'm like madly trying to pick up tiles, thinking the water's going to ruin them. But you came running out and said, "No, no, no, just leave them on the ground. It's fine. They won't melt." And everything,
Yeah,
it all in the Arizona sun, it was gone in 5 minutes.
yeah,
So
yeah.
But yeah, we worked on that, and I got to work with you on Tiny Teeth, which was a really
Yeah,
amazing
yeah, that's a
three-dimensional dentist, children's dentist office. Wow. I mean, can you imagine? It makes dentistry, it makes you want to go to the dentist as a kid. It's
yeah. Well,
a
that's the
brilliant
whole goal.
concept.
Get those kiddos in there and make them not afraid to get their teeth worked on. So
Yeah. Well, I wanted to go back a ways because there's this
okay.
amazing story that I wonder if you'll share with us about being in kindergarten, I think,
Yeah.
and an art teacher telling maybe your dad or somebody that you were super talented.
So what I recall, which I think the story's probably gotten a little bit bigger than the really nanosecond of impression. But when I was a kid in kindergarten, it was the year that my parents were moving. They got a house. I grew up in Gary, Indiana, and it must have been right around Easter because I think that they're giving the parents all your little colorings and drawings and stuff from kindergarten. And I just remember hearing my teacher say something to my parents about me having some artistic talent. I mean, who knows what the words even were, but it was enough that it impressed me. And, that's kind of my earliest memory of thinking, oh, cool. And then my parents, we were always making stuff. Some of it was out of necessity of maybe not having the money to buy Christmas ornaments. So we would make them. But also, I'm sure it was my parents' way of just keeping us busy, keeping me doing stuff and out of trouble. And then that whole experience just sort of grew through my youth from hanging out with some of the old ladies in the neighborhood who would go to the community center that happened to be in the park that was attached to my elementary school. And every Saturday or Sunday, or they'd be there crocheting little boxes or making things out of old Christmas cards. And I would go and hang out with them because there was this lady down the street. I remember her name was Tony, and she had a voice like this. So I think she probably smoked a lot and drank a lot of gin like they did back 50 years ago, and still do now. But I'd go with Tony, and I would just get to hang out with the ladies at the senior center and help make stuff, whether it was punching holes and things, and just all of these influences. Even there, it must have been third or fourth grade, going to a friend's house whose father was a watercolor painter, and kind of we weren't allowed in the studio, but you could see it from like a window through the kitchen or something. And I remember looking, over the sill into this, and just this wonder of, wow, people do this. You can do this for a living. And just those are those like little touchstones that have influenced me. And I still sit in my studio is 20 years old this year, and I
Happy
still sit in
anniversary.
my studio on the couch sometimes, and I look around. I'm like, wow, this is my life.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing to get to do what I love every day.
Well, just to highlight for the importance, first of all, of what we say to children, what we say around children, especially as teachers,
Mm-hmm.
and how much that can impress upon a child. The smallest thing of this, your child has talent or doesn't, when a teacher says that, and your kid that just was
Right.
terrible. So, what a beautiful gift that teacher gave you. And then to be able to sit with the elders, even though, of course we wouldn't have called it that, but to learn from these women
Mm-hmm.
at such a young age, and then the playfulness, that and the importance that has played in your life. I think it's
Yeah.
pretty incredible that these seeds were planted, and that the work that you do is so impactful on anyone who sees it, but a lot of the work you do is with children. And so
Yes.
and I know that the work that you do with Free Arts Arizona is one of the most important things to you, so I'd love to just let you talk a little bit about
Okay.
that association, how it came to be, and highlight maybe one or two of the projects that you love that you've worked
Sure.
on.
Um, so I was introduced to Free Arts for Abused Children of Arizona 25 years ago. So really close to the inception of the organization, and was fortunate to meet the executive director, who was, she's younger than me. So she was in her 30s, but was starting this organization that was all about art heals. And I just ran into her at at an art show at a friend's house and started talking, and I really needed a place to come get involved. And so I started off then. They have a lot of really great programs where volunteers come in and get involved in what they call a mentoring program. And so people sign up to go into group homes. The kids that we serve are mostly in group homes, domestic violence shelters. We're doing more with foster care and stuff now, but I just signed up for a 1-day thing, and it was at a facility that was a family shelter pretty close to me, and it was all around Christmas time, and I got to go and help. I don't even remember what we made, little picture frames, I think, and somebody else was taking photos, and just seeing the impact that art had on bringing the families together, but also giving these kids a voice. That hooked me. And then from there, I started signed up for the mentoring program. I always remember this one little kid. We did a project for Child Abuse Prevention Week, and we were doing t-shirts that were going to get all hung together down at the courthouse, I think the courthouse in Central Phoenix. And we were talking, or maybe it's Anti-Violence Week, something like that. But I was explaining what violence meant, because one of the kids, was young enough, they didn't know what that word even meant. So we talked about what that word meant because it was part of the tagline of what we were doing. And this one little kid said, "Oh, so you mean like when my mom beats me with a cord?" Yeah. I'm like, yeah. I mean, just crazy stuff. But those are the kids who really need it. Yeah. And I mean, we all need a voice, and we all need the freedom to share that voice, even when it's not pretty, because that allows us to get it out. And that's when healing can begin. And that's what free arts does, is it gives kids a voice without censoring, without.
Yeah, I remember getting to go into a women's shelter with you, and we did tile project where the kids would do little handprints of the kids. And there's so much to do around anonymity there and making sure that everybody stays safe. But the kids, in order, for them to feel like they had a space of their own, it was so impactful to see them make these tiles. I got to come back, see the whole process, and then put them on the wall and be, some of these kids in foster care that had never had a forever home. So here's this place where I made a literal imprint. So I can make a difference everywhere I go. It's what a gift.
Yeah, I've done projects that, these are in city parks, and so they can always go back there. They're, when they're adults, those tiles are still going to be there, and to know that they've made an imprint.
All of the work you do is healing, as you're saying, the very nature, our creative, our God-given right, our born nature is to be creative beings, and you remind us of that in everything that you do. And then you've gotten to work with Adelante Healthcare in particular, doing children's hospitals. And wow, I mean, even I think now we have so much science around art and the healing nature of art in hospital settings. But you have created these these immersive worlds. Like, one that always comes to mind when I'm talking about you is this one that's like a teddy bear picnic in a room. I don't know if it's a waiting room for the kids to see the doctor. And
that was actually in a children's wing at one of the bannered hospitals here.
Just amazing. So tell us about some of your favorite projects and maybe ways that you've seen it impact the healing.
Well, I get to do a lot of fun things. And so I kind of got into this through some people I used to work with at another design firm, that when I went off on my own one time, they needed someone to create this big shark with teeth with braces that was going to be part of, a waiting room. And then we created these other environments that were dental waiting rooms, but that sort of segued into doing a lot of work with medical centers. So some hospitals, pediatric doctors, so banner hospitals here, and Adelante Healthcare, and kind of a little bit in a lot of the different hospital systems. I've been able to do some waiting rooms, and sometimes the hallways through the ER areas, where you're taking a kid from this emergency room or something to where they've got to go get operated on. And there are these blank white walls. And so now there's kites and there's things like that as a kid is, you imagine you're laying on your back on a gurney rolling through this, and, it feels like the movies with the lights in your eyes as you're rolling down. So let's make it more fun and more friendly. So I've really been able to do a lot of work through a couple different organizations to create environments in medical centers, and was actually part of a study about evidence-based design is what it's actually called. So that there's proof and creating evidence based on the environment and how the environment alone can be healing. And so through that, I've gotten to create artwork that is interactive for kids, but also interactive for adults in whether it's tactily interactive, but creating art throughout, kind of throughout a medical facility. So the art becomes wayfinding. There's the whole idea of positive distraction. So that if I'm walking down through a hospital or a doctor's office or any setting really, and you look over and you see a beautiful photo of flowers or a painting of a beautiful sunset or a landscape, that these things first, even if it's just for a nanosecond, that you don't even realize that your mind is identifying those things. For that second, your mind is off of your pain. It's off of your illness. It's onto something more positive. And so, we think about our own lives and wanting to, focus on positivity, right? Focus on thankfulness, focus on the good instead of focusing on the bad can make us feel better. It's the same way in the medical field, just even if it's for a little bit, it lifts our spirit, which can also lift our physical health.
I mean, it's amazing, right? We're in those settings. We're in fight or flight. You're in this, your amygdala's been hijacked. So what you are engaging our prefrontal cortex, which is that place that can recognize the creative and getting people back in their bodies and relaxing the nervous system.
Because of evidence-based design and so much in healthcare design, it is focusing on and realizing that we can make this feel better before we even talk to the patient. So wayfinding is a way so that, when you walk in there and oh yeah, go down to the left where you see the blue soffit and the ocean paintings, then you're in the right spot. Or whatever it is, so it's kind of like artistic signage.
It's so smart. I remember one outside of one you had, I think it was a road runner or some desert animal that would lead you from the parking lot.
It was the story of the tortoise and the hare.
Oh, duh.
Yeah,
the tortoise.
And so all around one of Adelante Healthcare's buildings, just the walk around the whole facility is about maybe it's a sixth of a mile. So even if the staff is out walking at lunchtime, they know if they go around the building 6 times, they walked a mile. But to make it interesting to engage the patients and children too, we created the story of the tortoise and the hare around the building. And we had a couple big benches that were cast out of concrete. One looked like a rabbit and one looked like a turtle. And we had footprints, rabbit footprints and turtle footprints that were painted on the ground all the way around the building. And
I know you can't show us a lot of the imagery because brilliantly the designer who has commissioned you to do this work knows that this should be proprietary because it's so brilliant that if people got wind of it, it would be stolen in a second. But if you could talk a little about the work that you do in eldercare facilities and memory units in particular.
Yeah. So what's been really kind of intriguing for me with my own business is that I've done a lot for pediatrics, from painting murals and model homes is actually one of the things I'm doing for the same client that now her business as an interior designer, Tomahawk Design, here in Phoenix is all about senior living centers. So her design firm goes in with builders and helps make, do all the beautiful things when you go into these senior living centers. And so I've been the artist to work with them over the years, creating art that is very similar to the touchy-feely things that we do for kids, but doing it for adults, because adults with memory care are kind of triggered by a lot of the same things, the same stimulus that kids are. That's color, it's tactile, it's writing and different things that we can do to spur memories. Yeah, behind me you can see a lot of my own art, the art that I just
Yeah.
do for myself, that is my own studio art. So there's that too.
Well, you do your own studio art,
Yeah.
and then you also, of course, run the studio of the first, what is it, First
Yeah.
Friday?
Well,
Open
yeah,
studio?
it's called First Studio. It's a
First
gallery
studio.
downtown,
Uh-huh.
because it's in an old building that was the first TV and radio station. So that's why it's called First Studio.
Yeah.
Um, but it's got gallery space throughout, and we just have local artists in there, and we don't charge commission for sales. We just do it because the owners of the building like to have really great art, and I take a lot of
Mhm.
pride in getting really amazing artists to show there. So,
You're a busy, busy human. I have
so
a few of your pieces in our house, and we always bring people through and show them, and I say, "This is my mural mentor's work," and turn off the lights or turn on. Some of them have lights built in, and
right, yeah,
it's
yeah.
just the creativity knows no end. So
Well, it doesn't really,
beautiful.
does it?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you, my friend. I
you
just
bet.
love you so much.
I love you too, and I'm so honored to be here. Thank you.
Take care. See you.
Okay.